Hello and welcome to the 360 Gamercast Paranormal Special. I'm your host, Mark Webb, Gamertag Piss on Steam ID, Webby 360G, and joining me on this very spooky episode is
Cinema Dan, woo! Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Woo!
Hogarth, remember, everything's meaningless and we're all going to die.
Yay!
And Damo Ricardo.
So, I was thinking this would be quite an interesting episode to do. So this is a paranormal episode, so we're going to be talking about ghosty and spooky things, and maybe other things. I don't know. Maybe the Loch Ness monster, since Damo lives in Scotland. Ask him if he's seen old Nessie, Bigfoot. Maybe, I don't know. Tell some ghost stories. Yeah, man. It's all good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so shall we get started off with, have you actually seen a ghost, Dan?
Me? I know you're going to pick on me straight away. Well, have I seen? I've seen a couple of weird things in my time, I suppose, and I think I briefly mentioned a little while ago when we were setting this podcast up, and I did see a odd sight walking back late at night down a country road, and there was a kind of like a top hatted man in some kind of suit staring out into a local park. It looked a bit odd, and we got a bit closer, and then we realised it was a wedding reception around the corner going on. It was the groom still wearing his top hat and all his kit. So, but I suppose in terms of spooky stuff, I mean, I kind of err on the side of being able to explain stuff, but there was one incident, I suppose, when I was at university, and it was my mate's 21st birthday. Can you imagine that? It was about, good God, that was nearly a quarter of a century ago. Jesus Christ. And basically, we started quite early, as you do in your 20s. You know, you get on the alcohol quite early on. So we had a few drinks, and obviously as the day progressed, you know, it kind of got a bit more and more to drink as you get, and obviously the festivities carried on into the night, and I think everyone decamps down to one of the local bars in Brighton Seafront, where we proceeded to drink more alcohol, and you could probably guess what kind of state we were in.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, I think someone had nicked a bicycle, and my mate was standing on top of his student bed with a bottle of champagne in one hand and a girl under his arm and on the other side. But anyway, later on that night, I went to bed and woke up paralysed. I mean, I couldn't move at all, and fucking terrifying. I tell you that now. And at the end of my bed, there was this white figure, and it was just there. It was kind of like what's the best way to describe it? It was kind of elf-like, I suppose, but like white, and it kept on, you know, standing there. And at the time, you know, what the hell's going on? I can't move, and you know, it was quite scary. And then kind of passed out again, and I'm not sure how much time passed, but the same thing happened again. And
oh, damn!
Yeah, you're right.
You're going to find that my story is very similar, but I know what it is.
Yeah, so do I, mate. So, and, you know, at that point, I kind of raised my hand and started to try to signal it, and then this point, you know, I'm still paralysed, but then I pass out again. And the last time, I wake up and this thing's at the end of the bed, but it somehow walks through the door and then comes back through again. And but this time, I knew it wasn't really malevolent, so I was waving my hand around, and then I passed out. And then I suppose the next day, kind of, I just went down and told my mates, and they thought I was crazy. We had consumed an awful lot of alcohol and maybe a little bit of skunk, but
as you do.
as you do in your 20s, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a good boy now, but though that since then, I mean, I mean, what's your gut? I mean, I know Hogarth has probably a similar, so it's probably best to go with his incident first. And I mean, what would you, if someone told you that, Webby, Damo, what would you say to them?
I've actually experienced something very similar. Funnily enough, when I was a kid, but I actually think it's an issue with your sleep where it's something to do with where your brain isn't quite woken up, but you're half asleep, so you can't move your arms and legs and stuff.
There's definitely an element of sleep paralysis. I mean, I've had that on and off throughout my life, and I haven't had an incident for a few years now. But and that wasn't the first time, and it always comes about, I guess, when I am fatigued and tired and whatever. But you can't really explain the white figure at the end of the bed and
no, I mean, I used to have the sleep paralysis happen to me a lot as a kid, but I had a similar experience, not where I was paralysed, but with the white figure, and I can't, and even to this day I can't explain it. Now I don't know if it was just my overactive imagination as a kid, or if I actually saw it, because I vaguely remember it was just after my Nan had died, and like I'm convinced what I saw was her like standing over my bed. When I can't remember, I must have been about 10 or 11. I was lying in bed one night. I was like, I'd woken up, all tired and that, and I was convinced I saw like this white like figure of my Nan standing over my bed, just looking at me, and I was fucking really scared. So I just hid under the covers. But again, I can't tell you, if that was just me, because I remember back then I was having a lot of the sleep paralysis issues, and I was having trouble sleeping, and stuff like that. So I can't say for certain that 100% was real. If that makes sense.
Okay. Well, let's hear what Hogarth's got to say, because he's quite clearly had something similar.
Yeah. Well, mine is sleep paralysis as well. So I have got another story, but sort of on the sleep paralysis thing. So mine started in 2012. I was working in Liverpool during the week and coming home to York on a weekend, and I had a flat over in Liverpool. And I had all the classic symptoms of sleep paralysis, which is not just not being able to move, but it's also this immense pressure pushing down on your chest.
Yeah.
It feels like you've got like 100 Lisa Rileys literally sat on you. And then you get this strange stereo screeching noise going from left to right in your ears.
I've never had that.
I didn't have that.
And then this is where there's two variants of it when I've researched it. I get the feeling of something really sinister in the room, but you can't see it, but you think something's there. Right. The alternative is people hallucinate a figure either on their chest or at the end of the bed.
Yeah.
And the reason I was going to mention this is that some people believe that whilst there's a lot of medical research to say it's triggered by your irregular sleep patterns, being stressed, a mixture of all that sort of stuff. But some people believe that especially the pushing down on the chest is called spirit trying to get back into your body, and it's like
it's got if you want to know more about it, research old hag syndrome, and there's a whole Wikipedia page on it, and it's what they used to believe. It used to be like some kind of malevolent spirit of a hag.
Yeah,
and it used to just haunt. Yeah, but yeah, it comes about when obviously your sleep pattern's screwed up mainly, and there is a scientific explanation by it. It's not like some mad old woman wanting to get into bed with you.
Unfortunately, I have it about once or twice a year now. I literally had it 6 weeks ago as well.
Oh, wow.
Time. And it's the thing is that the last time I had it 6 weeks ago, I'd say all my previous incidents, I don't really know what's going on. This time, actually, my brain was saying, I know what this is, and I was physically trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the other symptoms is it it feels like it lasts for a long, long time, but in reality, apparently it lasts for minutes, or even maybe not even that, maybe half a minute in reality. But when you're experiencing it, it feels like it's going on for absolutely ages.
Yeah.
Like a dream.
It's some people confuse it with night terrors, but it's definitely not night terrors. That's a different condition. But
Dreams are they only go on for a few seconds, but they feel like they go on for a long time.
yeah. So my only, I'm not going to call it a ghost. I'm going to call it an incident I can't explain. Right. So I used to travel with my job. I used to work in IT professional services a long time ago, and I used to travel around literally week in, week out, living out of a suitcase, going from hotel to bed and breakfast to hotel all over the country. And I'd been sent down to Gloucestershire, and I'd been booked into this B&B, so I'd been to the site where I was working for the day and checked into this B&B, and it wasn't the best place, to be honest. When you go in there and like the carpet's sort of crawling up the side of the skirting board because it's got a bit of damp and it all smelled a bit foisty. And anyway, not much I can do. So bedded down, had something to eat, and then I just remember waking up at probably 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I didn't sit up, but like your head's on a pillow, so you naturally sort of got an angle looking, and all I can see is there's someone at the end of the bed. I could see their face, I could see their body, but within blinking of a second, blinking my eyes, it disappeared. But this person I could see as clear as day.
That's weird.
And that's my only ever experience. I put it down to I was still asleep and maybe I was still dreaming, but consciously I was awake as far as I was concerned.
I get it sometimes. Yeah, I mean, sorry.
So I was going to say, did you speak to the people that own the B&B to see if anyone else has had those sorts of experiences before?
No, because next morning I was. How old would I have been? I'll have been about 22, 23. You sort of just still learning the ways of the world, and I didn't want to look like an idiot.
Fair enough.
To be honest, I just wanted to get out there as quick as anything, not because of the sighting, but more because of the fucking state of the rooms and to be honest.
What were you going to say, Dan? Sorry.
No, I've had similar kind of instances like that where it's like almost like a waking dream when you wake up and you see a figure, but then it's like a pile of clothes or something on the back of the door, and it morphs and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I get that from time to time, to be honest with you. So it could be a combination of you seeing shapes or a pattern in something that's not there. If you see what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, your
possibly.
imagination is a powerful thing, isn't it? The human mind and the imagination is, you can make you see a lot of things. It's like when your eyes, like when you're in the dark and you've got your eyes open and your eyes can play tricks on you. You can see things that aren't there, like little shadows or whatever. You know what I mean? I always remember, like, I remember about 6 or 7. Like, I had a really active imagination, and I'd be lying in bed, and there was I remember, like, in my old house, I was on the Isle of Wight. I used to live on the Isle of Wight, and on the bedroom wall there was like these little, like, I don't know, call them like stains or something like that. But every night I'd lie down. And like there'd be a little bit of light in the room, and I'd be lying there looking at these stains, and like my eyes would always trick me, and they looked like little people just like walking on the spot. Like I'd actually see them walking. It was really bizarre. I used to get like I used to like really like always see things like that as a kid, and always have a lot of sleep issues where that sleep paralysis you're talking about. I used to get it a lot. I remember. I'd wake up in the night and like I'd open my eyes, but I couldn't move my head or my arms. I'd be fighting to move my body, and then like my dream would be like going swirling down in this like big like kind of, I don't know, like swirls of water, like a whirlpool, and then I'd go back to sleep again, and then I'd wake up in the morning and be like, what the fuck? Am I mental? But for me personally, like ghost wise, I haven't really experienced anything apart from what I've mentioned, to be honest. I mean, I've been freaked out, when, like as a teenager staying around my mates' houses at times, we'd tell like some ghost stories, or like my mate Dave, he one of his houses his dad had at one time was really old, and we'd get really stoned and then get freaked out at like 2 in the morning and that. But you get the odd things like where I just think I do believe in ghosts, but I've never had any actual evidence presented to me myself. Because because sometimes you're in like an old house or a building or whatever, and you can sometimes like you'll maybe see something in the corner of your eye, but I think that's your imagination, or like you'll enter a room and like you'll get pins and needles or something, or like and your hairs will stand on them. But I think those things can always be explained in one way or another. So I mean, I love watching like the paranormal documentaries, but I always watch them with a big hint of skepticism, because more often than not, a lot of these so-called hauntings are proven to be fake, which is very frustrating.
It's a bit like good old Derek Acora, who used to turn up every single old house and then basically go, "Oh, I'm getting a woman. Begins with M."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No. N. Oh, that must be Nana.
I once played quite a funny ghost trick on a poor guy who knocked at the door. So this was shortly after I'd split up with my wife, and I'd got my 2 kids then for tea, and I was sort of rushing around trying to cook their tea, and there's a knock at the door. And back then, I used to find it really difficult to say no to people. If they said, "Are you interested in this?" I'd be like, "Okay, I'll listen." And I just couldn't say no. Fuck off. So there's a knock at the door, and it's a Jehovah's Witness with trying to get me to look at Watchtower magazine and stuff. And he's like, "Are you interested?" And I said, "To be honest, mate," I said, "I'm just got my kids. I'm cooking the tea. Can you just come back later?" And he went, "Yeah." So I shut the door.
Never say that.
Kids had the tea. Mother picked them up, and then my friend Neil came over. This was like probably a couple of hours later, and we're sat having a beer. And there's a knock at the door, and I was like, "Oh God, it's the Jehovah's Witness guy." And I just quickly said to Neil, I said, "Neil, just go answer the door and just tell him I'm not interested." So Neil went to and I didn't know he was going to do this, and he opened the door. The guy couldn't see me, and what I didn't tell you is that the guy had asked me my name, because one of the things he said, "I'm Damon. What's your name?" I said, "It's Nigel." And I said, "Look, just come back later." So when the guy opened the door, he said, "I called earlier and spoke to Nigel. He's here around." And Neil went, "Nigel?" He's like, "No." He says, "There used to be a Nigel who lived here, but he died some time ago." And he just said his face went literally, "What?" And he just turned away and walked off. But,
that's brilliant. To listen to the rest of this week's episode, visit patreon.com/360gamercast. From as little as £5 a month, you get an episode every single week of the year, and every single special episode that we put out, just like this week's Paranormal Special. That website again is patreon.com/360gamercast. Or if you're lazy, just visit 360gamercast.com and all the links for everything are right there. Thank you very much. We'll see you later.